Hi, I'm Shadow of Shadow Gaming, bringing you a new series, Programming with Shadow. In this video, we are going to look at setting up a development environment for the programming language C#. So we speak human languages like English. Computers, on the other hand, understand a language called binary, where the only values are either 1 or 0, representing on or off. So a programming language is a human-like language that a piece of software called a compiler takes and converts to a binary that the computer understands. This is a very overly simplified example, but this is about deep enough for us to begin. So what we're going to learn how to do is make software that we can use to do whatever we need, do a tool, have a service, do whatever we need. And we'll see more about that as we go in. So let's begin by configuring the environment. So here I've got a mostly fresh Windows 11 install. You'll likely need administrator access from this point, so if you don't have that, probably not going to be able to follow along, but I'm going to just go through and set some settings first. So I'm just going to come here, and open settings. The very first thing I'm going to do is turn on dark mode. Colors, I believe. Dark mode. Automatic accent. Automatic accents just change the colors, like little lines on the tabs, things like that. I'm going to do automatic because I'm going to vary the color of the background here and there, and that'll keep them in line. Let's go over to system now. Make this stuff a little display, I believe. Yeah, scale, yeah. Let's bump this up to 100. Yeah, a little bit hard for me, but I think that'll be helpful for the video, so go with that. I think that's all I want. Go to accessibility. That's probably about good. I was thinking of making the mouse cursors. I think I'm going to. Again, that's a little big on my opinion, but I think it'll be helpful. That's slightly bigger as well. So yeah, there's the settings I want. I think when I clicked here, I seen something. That's this. We don't need some stuff Microsoft installs by default. I'm going to assume I can get them back because I'm other ones as well. I'm going to keep the rest of these. I don't think I want that one either, but I'll keep it for now. So let's begin. So there I did a real quick cleanup. So first thing I'm going to do is come here to Edge. I'm going to look for Firefox. I'm going to download Firefox. So it's just a reason for going Firefox. You can see I've already downloaded it. Download it again though. Download, install. Can even tell it's reinstall. That'll work. So I'm just picking Firefox. It's basically because it's not a Chromium-based browser. So Microsoft Edge, Chrome. I think Safari might be as well. I'm not 100% sure on it, but they're all based on Chromium, and I'm just picking a different one that's not Chromium just because. I'm going to click Not Now because it's being cut off. Didn't like scaling, but there we go. I'm going to click that, but I don't think necessary. I don't think I had any settings that should have been problematic. All right. Here. All right, so now we have Firefox. Now, put that in. Let's get. It almost knows what I want. I want the first thing we need. So I mentioned the process is compiling a programming language to binary. We need the compiler first. So what we're going to look for is the .NET SDK. So SDK stands for Software Development Kit. It's basically it has the tools you need to work with C#, or there's other .NET languages as well. C# is just the one that I'm going to start with here. I'm just going to click here. This is right for me. As you can see, I've already grabbed it before as well. Install. Didn't scale nicely. I have to undo the scaling because it actually doesn't look that, or it's aliasing a little bit more than I'd like. So like I said, this is like it has a bunch of tools that you use to create software with Sharp, or .NET in particular, but C# in our specific case. As you can see, it's installing a bit of things, but most of that stuff's what we're going to need eventually anyway. So, all right. Some of the tools, from this point on, this is actually the only tool we need. Like, I could have not installed Firefox and just went with this and it would have been fine. Everything else beyond this is technically optional, although I would argue that some of it's better. You could technically use Notepad here at this point, so I could go to Notepad. This would technically be enough. Like, I could program here if I really had to. Don't have to though, so we're going to grab some other first. So let's go for Visual Studio Code. This is a Microsoft editor. So Visual Studio Code's, it's pretty common. I find it pretty nice to user installer 64-bit. I do not have that one done. I think they've actually updated the version. I think when I was practicing, I think it was 92. Yeah, let's grab that. So here, you should read through the license. We're going to go on for now. I'm going to install it here in the default location. Takes a little bit of space, so there's other stuff that I didn't look at it, but the .NET SDK is smaller than this, I believe. We're going to install it here. So here, I'm going to click these two boxes. These two make it so that when you right-click, it'll show up in the more options. So it'll show up in here. The other one, this setting, it makes it so that if you open certain types of files, it'll open automatically. We'll probably set C# to do this for us as well. It won't do that by default. This last one's an important one. Add to path. Requires shell restart. So that's just, we'll see what that does in a minute, but basically it lets us invoke it a little easier so we can start Visual Studio Code more easily than otherwise. So here, the confirmation of what we're doing, and an install. This one will take a moment. Once again, at this point, this is pretty much all we would really need. And in fact, let's go ahead and open this up. I'm going to not click that, but let's do it another way. Let's go to File Explorer. Let's just search down here, by the way, is what I clicked. Press the home button or the Windows key and it'll open up for that. Let's go here. Let's go to my users. Go to my user. Go. Make a folder in here. And I'm just going to call it source. So I'm just doing this so it's easy for me to remember. Let's actually, let's call it full source actually. There. Now if I right click here, like I said, I have to go to more options. It should be open with code. And it should open source, and it did. And here it's asking if I trust the authors of this folder, the files in this folder. In this case, it's me, so yes. When you first open VS Code here, I think I am going to have to adjust the scaling back down. I think this is going to be a little tough to get everything we want. But we'll keep it up for now, but we may have to adjust. But here's how it's going to start. It's telling us our release notes here. That may be because I've already installed it once before. You may not get that if this is the first time. I'm not 100% sure. But here we got the August 2024 version. And we can start, and you can see I've already tried to do some stuff here, so I need to clear that. But that's VS Code. Try something else. So here, I'm going to come up here and type CMD. This is going to open up another program called a command prompt. That's this thing. Let's do, I'm going to do CD source. I think I called it full. So what you can do there is you can start typing. After you got enough characters, you can press tab and it'll fill it out. So what this is doing, CD stands for change directory. So directory in this case is that folder we created, source. So in programming, a lot of times you're going to see folders and directories used sort of interchangeably. For the most part, I'm probably going to say directory for most of the time. But you can use them pretty much interchangeably. I think there's slight context difference, but for Windows, it's usually folder. For Windows and Mac, or Linux and Mac, it's usually directory. If you're in a terminal, you usually say directory, but I can do that here. Now that allows me to do code dot. This is saying VS Code and run dot. Dot stands for current folder. And look, it opened the same spot. So that's what adding to the path does. It lets you do something like that. I'm going to close this again though. I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this and come back to Firefox. Some other programs I want. Let's grab Notepad++. So I'm going to grab it. We may not even use this, I'm not sure. Grab here. The installer. Again, I've already downloaded one. Here's a second copy, but install English. Next. Here's your terms for it. Here, it's much smaller. I'm going to leave all the defaults checked. I'm not going to change anything. Not going to create a desktop shortcut. There we go. So this one will be a little quicker. I'm just going to run it here. I don't think it'll default. We may set it up to make it easier to run from the terminal as well. Here's its latest version. You should read through and see what when you install something, you should go through and see what it does. Sometimes you'll find new nice things. Add this backspace unindent option, for example. We're going to close this. Let's see. Go to settings. Style configurator, maybe. Yeah, let's pick dim dark blue. Save. Yeah, there we go. That's my favorite color scheme, so that's what I'm going to use. Let's grab 2 more programs. First, let's look up PowerShell Core. I'm going to get this from here. I'm going to come down and find releases. I'm going to grab the latest. So here I'll have to find my operating system. In this case, it's Windows. And it's going to be one of these two. Most systems are going to be the x64 though, so that's usually the one for me, I'm sure that is. I'm going to grab that and run it. It gives you a warning that be careful, make sure you know who that comes from. In this case, I'm going to hit next. I'm going to make sure these two are checked. I probably want that one disabled, but I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to uncheck these if they're checked. I'm, again, probably should check these and just let Microsoft update it, but I'll handle it myself for now. And let's install. This one will take a moment as well. Or maybe I may cut on this one. It's pretty slow sometimes. I say that, and then that was almost instant, so very quick actually. It's usually slower. Let's grab one more program. So Git. So that's going to be this first link here, download for Windows. It's going to take me here. Let me go back. Let me just click Git here. It'll take you to this page. This link here is what I'm looking for. Let's grab the 64-bit setup. So this is a tool, or a tool that we'll use eventually, but maybe not directly right offhand. Again, it has a good license. You should read through it for sure. I'm going to install it to the default location. I'm going to leave these settings the same. No, I'm not. I'm going to click that one. Same folder. I'm going to switch this. So this is what editor you use if you need to use an editor in Git. I like that one personally, but it's not easy to use, so I'm going to switch to N++. Try that. Here, let's do override. I'm going to use main. Use the recommended. I'm going to use bundled. The recommended. That as is. That one as is. I want to switch these, but I'm going to leave it for now. Use Git credential manager. A lot of settings. Okay, there we go. A bunch of settings there, so I'll have most of them on default. This one won't be a program we use anytime in the future. I'll use it in the background to help me set up stuff, so that's why I'm getting it. We'll use it eventually, though. The PowerShell one we're going to use more very soon. So this one being finished. That's all the programs we need to install for the moment. So instead, let's begin moving and actually try to create our first program. Make sure everything works, basically. So what I'm going to start with, I'm going to come down and search for terminal. So this is sort of like that command prompt I opened a minute ago. So a terminal or a command prompt, depending on which one you're using. In this case, I'm using that PowerShell thing we mentioned. That's what this PS stands for, is PowerShell. So we're not going to use many of the features here for now. For now, we're just going to treat this as a program to run other programs. So it's going to be where we run things, basically. So we installed a few things. So that Git I just installed, you'll be able to do something like that, Git help, and it'll tell you different things. There's a lot of text here and probably won't make sense right offhand. Another thing you can do CLS for clear screen. I think you can also do clear. Yeah. So either one of them will clear screen. Another common command will be ls. This stands for list. Lists your current directory and shows you what's there. Basically equivalent to if I come in the File Explorer, I go to same location, C, users, shadow, and here we can see the names should look similar. Now notice it's not showing my hidden files, but that's okay. So if your editor, this doesn't show hidden files, File Explorer, you come over to show, click hidden files here. I'm going to click these two as well. Item box, view, show, file names. So we don't see anything different here. when we actually create C# file, we would be able to see it'll say .cs at the end. That just makes it easier to identify what kind of file it is. You can also look over here at type and it'll have that information, and the name of the file will have it, or the icon of the file will sort of give you some indication as well, but we want to stick with that for now. So I'm going to come back over to the terminal though, because I'm going to move away from using File Explorer for us, and we're going to start with the terminal. So the reason for that is it'll help us get better at using it, and it's better in the long run, in my opinion. I'm going to do cd, so change directory, back into source. I press tab again. I press tab to autocomplete. Now I'm in source, and I do ls. There's nothing here. So move around, like if I need to go back to source or back up to my user directory, I'll do cd ... So in a terminal, 1 dot indicates where you currently are, 2 dots indicates your parent. So now I can do cd ... and I'm back at Shadow. I can see everything go again. So cd source. There we go. Now I'm down a layer. So now let's create a folder or directory. So I could go to File Explorer and do it there. There's a terminal command for this as well though. I can do mkdir. So make directory. Let's do hello world. I'm not sure which one we want to say is the default. I'm going to start with this as for this name, but probably more precisely we should do hello world, all caps, or like that casing, but I'm going to do it the other one first. Probably doesn't matter, but running that, I now have, this is telling me it created a new directory, hello world. So now I can do cd hello world. Now I'm in here. So now we've created a new directory. So now what I want to do is open VS Code here. So there's other things I can do. I could do more work from the terminal here if I wanted to, but we're instead going to use VS Code. So I'm going to do code and dot. I probably could have done this from code as well. So again, we're welcome to this window. Let's look at what's in here. Now we're in this hello world directory. This is what this is showing us, is the File Explorer. It gives us some options: create a new file, create a folder, refresh. Like if you make changes somewhere and they don't show up, you can click that to refresh. This is an expand collapse, so show and hide folders basically. So right here in the middle of the screen is your main content area. So this is where your text is going to be for the most part. You have tabs up here, so if you have multiple files open, this is where you can access them and change through them. There's some buttons over here. I'm not going to deal with them for now. They let you split the editor into multiple windows a little easier. Down at the bottom is the status bar. Again, we're not going to use it right offhand. We will probably eventually, but for now, it's just going to have our line counts and number of characters per line, things like that. And besides the activity bar, that may not be the right name actually. I'll have to look up the doc. Nope, activity bar is right. Like, I think that's right. So activity bar, so it has our settings among other things. So there's a search and source control. That uses that Git we installed earlier. And we'll worry about it much later. Search, run and debug. Probably not going to use this right offhand. We'll come to it later as well. And extensions, same thing. I'll definitely install some extensions eventually, but not right offhand. That's just a real quick overview. We'll learn a lot more of them as we use them. And there's also the normal file, and all the settings. What we're looking for here is terminal though. And I can do new terminal. So Control Shift and that sign. That's beside the 1 on your keyboard, called a backtick or grave. So if I do new terminal though, it'll open me a terminal here. This is exactly like my PowerShell I have open here, but it's in here. By the way, the I go over to preferences, theme, color theme. You probably started on dark VS Code. I switched to Monocaine. I like the color scheme just a little better personally, so that's what I'm going to use. But that's how I got there. So you can come down here and go to themes and color theme. That's where you can pick that from. Okay, there's a very brief overview. So let's go ahead and continue. So for a C# program, C#, the .NET language combines stuff into projects. There's another layer on top called a solution, and solutions can have multiple projects. Projects can have multiple C# files. For this first one, we're going to need one project and one file, so that'll be about all we need. Let's see how we do that. I can come down to here to the terminal, make this bigger. I can do .NET --help. So in terminal world, using that --help like I did here and like I did with Git, often will show you some information. In this case, it shows you what options you have, what different commands you can run, things like that. So here I can do list SDKs, or I can do .NET --list SDKs. This will tell me I have .NET 8 installed. Good. Some other ones here. Again, help's really useful. Keep track of it. Versions are occasionally useful. We'll see add and build in time, clean. We might see some of these others like format and list, but I don't use them all that often. Here's the big one we're going to use for the starting here. New and run. Some of these others we'll see in time, but maybe not right offhand. So let's start .NET new. Let's do help here. This will give us more information about the new command. And this is showing us how we use this. You read this as command, command, then anything in the square braces stands for is optional. So template short name, template args, whatever. So it's optional names that you can use to get information. So what I could do here, I could search or list specific templates. So where you would find these is back on Microsoft's website. I think it was Firefox, but that's where you would find this information. Here. Sorry, pause just a second. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So you would find this information on the .NET documentation or somewhere. In our case, I already know what we're going to look for, and it's going to be .NET. It should probably be create, but you can also just do new console. So this does some stuff. Console app was created successfully. Then some post creation. It did a restore, which we'll figure out what that is eventually. But if we look over here, we can see it actually put us some files. So these are the actual program files that we need. It's csproj. So like I said, C# ones are divided into projects and then the files under them. So this is like the file that controls the project. And you can look at this if you really wanted to. We'll look at it eventually. So here I'm going to, we'll probably want this eventually too, but I'm going to not do it for now. Here, you can look at the files here and they'll show up in this window. In this case, this is just a project file, and I might change stuff later, but for now, I'm going to leave this alone. I'm not going to touch these for the first little bit here. The other one here is program.cs though. And here you can see the template here and see what the setting is, but other than that, this looks pretty blank. That'll quit popping up. I'll just delete that comment there. So this is just console writeline hello world. And if you remember, that is the name of the folder here. Here, let's go turn on a setting actually. Go to settings, settings again. Let's turn on autosave, control focus change. So now when I click off of the thing, it'll autosave. All right. So let's look at the actual code. So this is actual C#, and there's not a lot here. This is pretty basic. This is about as simple a program as you can start with. So console.writeline. What does that mean? So our terminal down here is sometimes called a console. This is saying console and then write a line. So what we're writing is what's in these quotes inside the parentheses. So what we're saying is when we run this program, type out hello world, hello comma world exclamation point. Here's the terminal. Let's see that. So here I'm going to do ls, and here you see that we matched the structure over here, so that's good. We're in the right spot. So now I'm going to do .NET run. Let's do clear first. Clear. And now .NET run. And what we should see is hello comma world exclamation point. Maybe. The first one will take a little, there we go. First one will take a little longer. If we rerun it, it'll be quicker the second time. A little bit. I'd like it a little quicker than that, but that'll do. There we go. Now we've written and wrote our first program. Very easy. Let's change this line around. Let's do hello world. I am Shadow. Let's put another exclamation. There we go. Now I've edited the text they had there. So now if I do a .NET run again, now I expect it to tell me I am Shadow at the end. There we go. So there we just wrote, and now we've edited the program. So again, very easy to get started. The fun comes when you actually have a problem you're trying to solve, and that's where we'll see in the future as we try to extend on more. So let's do one little bit more, and I think this is about all I want to do in the first video. So next time we'll look more in depth and start actually looking at some of the tools programming gives us to solve problems. But let's do something. Let's just do a very simple one here to get us thinking. So in math, like in algebra, you have something called variables. So you might say x equals 4. So you're saying that your variable x is equal to 4. You can sort of do that here in programming. So I'm going to type in int. So that stands for integer. Variable. So this name can be anything. So I can say variable equals 42. So that the name variable is not special. It can be almost anything you want. There's certain things like I can't say int. Or maybe I actually can't. I shouldn't be able to say that. Let's try class. Yeah, it's not highlighting it. So that's going to be invalid because those are special words. So C# has a couple of reserved words, and you may occasionally run into them. I could do something like add an @ sign in front of that, and then it's going to be valid, but I don't find something like that very readable. So we could use X like we do in math. I'm going to use variable though. So that can be anything, but you want it to say what it is. In this case, variable is not all that descriptive, but I'm going to do for the example. So we'll see later that just calling variables one letter might make it easier to type, but it makes it harder to go back through and read the program most of the time. So let's change this. So now I've got hello world. So let's change this. say, sorry, I grabbed the ending print. Let's say the meaning of life, the universe, and everything is. So I'm going to stop there. So let's add a new line. I'm going to add console.writeLine. You can press tab here to tab complete. Parenthesis. What I'm going to say is variable. What I'm wanting it to do is say write this line, then write this at the end of the line. So that's not going to work. I'll go ahead and tell you this. This isn't going to do what we want it to, but it's going to be close. We're going to see how ways we can fix that. There we go. And we wrote out the contents, but it put it on a new line. That's not what I want. There's also no period at the end. So we could fix that. What we could do is we could do something like this, this, this. But that'll fix it, and now it looks almost like we want. Now there's missing a space, so now we have to come in here, do that. But there we go. We wrote out what we wanted to. So that would work. Another thing you can do though is called concatenation. We can take this string here and add or concatenate onto it other things. That's just a big word, and it means just add these two words together, basically. In this case, I'm going to do variable plus period. That's going to do the exact same thing, except I need to add a line here. Now, if I run it, now it should tell me the exact same thing. It does. So that's a concept called concatenation, and we'll look much more in depth at that as we get further in and we do more programs. So we can actually C#, so this would be the traditional way to do this. You can do this even better though through modern features. So say modern features, but they've been around already. I'm going to put a $sign in front of the quotes. Now I'm just going to delete all this back to here. I'm going to put curly braces. I'm going to put variable inside. And I'm going to come outside and put a period. So now I postulate that this is going to be the exact same outcome as what we just had. And when I run it, it is. So there we go. There are some programs, very light modifications of them. So what we can do, one more thing before we go. So I'm just going to misspell this. So spelling matters. Let's undo that. So spelling matters. Capitalization also does. I used variable here. I have to match the case now. So right now it looks fine. If I run it, however, I have an error. Variable does not exist in the current context. Its context is being wrapped around. Or current is, sorry. There's also something that's never used. The red here's a warning, or an error. Yellow's a warning. Yellow means we could still run without it, like if I fixed this. Red means it stops though, so we couldn't go any further. So before we can run the program, we actually have to come in and fix our variable here, change it back to lowercase. So that's how warnings and errors show up. And you may run into them, like one of the common ones might be maybe forget a semicolon at the end. And here it's going to tell us a warning. Expected that at the end, but it didn't find it. So you'll run into them, and as you run into them, most of the time they won't be that bad. It's just as you get more experience, you'll see the error and know what it means more easily. But for now, it should be new, and as you build more programs, it'll become less new, and you'll understand it better. So we're going to move on to the conclusion, and this is going to be about it for the video. So In summary, in this video, we have set up an environment with VS Code, the .NET SDK, and some other tools we'll likely use in the near future. So after we set up all our environment, then we've now tested our environment. We've written a very, very basic C# program and worked through editing that program and then compiling it so the computer can understand. Then we went further and looked at a concept called using variables and putting information in them and changing our output here. So that's where we're going to stop. That's where we'll pick up in the next video. So this concludes lesson 1 of programming with Shadow. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.